All right, purpose of this first video is just to show you what a TINspire calculator looks like and kind of show you some of the features of it. When you try to describe it on paper, you can maybe get lost in the description. So hopefully through this video, you'll kind of see it in action and get a better understanding of what this calculator does. So on your screen right now, you're seeing a TINspire calculator, and this is just a projection of one on our smart board. The students' calculators would look exactly like this calculator. And you can, like I say, you can project this on the smart board. So as you're doing your work in class, you can project this up here so the students can follow you. They can see the exact buttons you're pushing and what it looks like on their screen, what it looks like on your screen. If you're going to use it for a classroom demonstration, you probably just wouldn't show the calculator. You'd probably change your presentation mode to something like this. Instead of handheld only, I'm going to do handheld and side screen. So you get the big screen in front of you, so that's kind of the focus. That's what the kids are focused on, what's going on in that screen. But over here on the side, you still do have the calculator, so you can see the buttons that are being pushed or whatever. So looking at the big display here, kind of in the middle of our screen, first of all, you notice it's in color, and you've got all sorts of options. And we're going to look at these options in the bottom row down here. And the first one I'm going to push, and you can kind of see it'll light up here a little bit, so you can kind of follow what I'm pushing. But I'm hit the one with the multiplication, division, add, subtract, so that one right there. And intuitive, hopefully, that's our calculator screen. So this will take you to a calculator screen, and you can do any type of calculation. Here's a very basic calculation, kind of an insult for a calculator like this. But 78 times 56, get your answer. It records it here. And any types of calculations that you'd like to do, calculations involving exponentials or involving other powers or whatever, all those are done in that screen. When you're done with that, you can hit the home button up here in the top right corner, and it takes you back to this main screen. So it's acting more like a handheld computer than a calculator. Let's move one over. This little button here with the parabola on there, that's our graphing screen. So graph anything you like. Let's graph y equals x. Maybe let's raise it to a power. Let's raise x, to the third power. So a cubic function, let's hit enter. And we get this nice graph on the screen. So, this is our graph page. And on this, you can see, first of all, it's in color. That's a change from our current calculators, and change from most calculators, actually. So that gets the kids excited. If you had a second graph, that'd show up in a second color. So it allows you to kind of keep these things straight. And plus, it just visually, it looks a little nicer. So that's our graphing screen. Let's go back home. Our next with the triangle, no big surprise, that's our geometry screen. And this is a really nice feature of the calculator. They're all nice features, but this is a really nice feature. The point of the geometry screen is it allows students to discover theorems from geometry. It allows you to kind of play around and you either discover or confirm, or you make some new conjectures in geometry. And the way it lets you do that is you can create shapes, or you can draw parallel lines or perpendicular lines or whatever. So I'm going to draw a triangle here, and I just put 3 points on here. I've got a triangle. Once I'm done, I'll hit escape. And then once you've got that, you go back to your menu here, and you could do all sorts of things on that triangle. You could measure the lengths, you could measure the angles. And a very important theorem in geometry, and you'll see it in a later video, is if you measure the sum of the 3 angles in a triangle, it always comes out to be the same answer. And I won't do that right now. That'll be in a later video. But kids could then, like I say, come to this item here, and they could measure the different angles. And you might think, well, what's the big deal? That's only one triangle. And you're right, it is only one triangle. But then once you measure it, and you'll see this later, you can change this triangle. And now you have different angles. And so what happens with these 3 angles? And maybe I'll change this over here and see what happens with these 3 angles. And I'll change this over here. So it allows kids to play around a little bit and then try to find what's in common. No matter what triangle I draw, I've got this triangle, now I make it like this. Do these have anything in common? What if I put this over here? Does that have anything in common? And so with that measurement tool, you can measure different parts and see what changes, what stays the same, and from that, discover your own geometry ideas. And really, they're age-old geometry ideas, but rediscover geometry ideas. And it's much more effective than the teacher just telling you, oh, look, here's a theorem, let's prove it. Let the kids kind of have at it first and come up with their own ideas. They have much better ownership when they come up with them on their own. Okay, back to our home screen, a couple more features here. Next one over, look at that, Excel spreadsheets. It's not really Excel because that's proprietary, but it's just like an Excel spreadsheet right here on your handheld. Next one over, if you want tables, graphs, anything like that, you can make those here. And then let's go to the very last one, the little green one here with our beaker here. This is to take in data. And our science department, as the CEF probably knows, has all sorts of probes that were purchased either through grants or other funds, and probes that would take in temperature data, motion data, all sorts of data that these would take in. This calculator is compatible with those probes. You just plug it right into the calculator, and you can now measure, distance or time or velocity or acceleration or the change in temperature of something, and get those graphs and analyze those graphs right here on your calculator. So again, that's the first video just to show you some of the features of this. It's called a calculator, but it really is acting much more like a handheld computer is what we have here.